Great, welcome everybody. My name is Elaine Chang. I'm the Director of Market Development and Customer Success here at TaroWorks, and thanks for joining everybody. We're excited for today's webinar because we get to highlight the graduation approach to poverty elimination and specifically look at how technology can enable it. So graduation models have proven to be an effective way to lift the ultra poor out of poverty, showing results like 433% economic return and results in India, which is amazing. And maybe more importantly, as Nicholas Kristof of the New York Times has written, it provides hope to the participants. However, implementing such a vast program has its challenges. And as you'll see in the rest of the webinar, there are different methods for implementing graduation programs, but some of the common themes are they have a sequential progression or graduation from phase to phase and eventually out of poverty. They're typically multi-sector, which requires lots of coordination between different groups. And they're oftentimes working with small groups, so like savings groups or business groups. So tracking results at various levels becomes very important as well. So today, we're excited to be joined by the BOMA project and Village Enterprise to share how they're using technology to tackle these challenges. So from the BOMA project, we have Monica Kundu from the BOMA project, who's their system administrator. And from Village Enterprise, we have Celeste Brubaker, who is the monitoring, evaluation, and learning director. So we've invited both organizations here today to showcase how these two organizations who are using the graduation approach are leveraging technology to not only collect data about their impact, but also to help them run their operations and coordinate all of the different people who need to work together to make these programs successful. And while technology can be easy to come by, we found that oftentimes it only works in a connected office. But these organizations, they're field agents, the mentors, the agents, they're working in some of the most rural and disconnected areas in the world where they might not get signal for days. And that's really where TaroWorks focuses, because we want field agents to be just as effective if they're offline as if they were in a connected office. So today, Monica will be sharing how the BOMA project field agents are using technology to assess potential participants, and once savings groups are formed, then track loan repayments for the groups. And then Celeste will be sharing how Village Enterprise uses technology to register business groups and each participant, assess if they're eligible for funding, and then track the business progress if they are receiving funding or tracking mentoring activities. So we'll be aiming to end at the top of in an hour, which means that you'll be seeing just a small slice of their work. So if you're interested in learning more about what they do, we'll have everybody's contact information at the end of the presentation. Okay, without further ado, let me welcome Monica Kundu from the BOMA project. Monica, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Great, and I've just provided you the presenter, so hopefully you see that.
Yes, are you all able to see my screen?
I can see it. Great. Welcome, Monica, and take it away.
Okay, thank you, Elaine. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody joining us from all over the world. My name is Monica Kundu, System Administrator to the BOMA project. So today I'll be taking you through what is BOMA, what we do, and how we've been able to use technology to better improve our program implementation of our graduation program. So who is BOMA? BOMA is the BOMA project is a US nonprofit organization based and a Kenyan NGO that works to provide poor women living in Kenya in the arid and semi-arid lands of northern Kenya with the educational, financial, technological resources to lift them out of poverty. BOMA's outstanding status is highly attributed to its use of technology platform dubbed Performance Insights to achieve most of the field tasks. So where do we work? We work in the drylands of Africa, which makes up 40% of the African continent. We work in 6 counties in northern Kenya and 1 district in Uganda. So who do we target? We target the ultra poor women, those who cannot meet their daily non-food and daily food needs. And this forms about 3.9 million citizens and 8.6% of the population. So we operate at the nexus of the 4 UN Sustainable Development Goals, which is ending extreme poverty, ending extreme hunger, empowering women and girls, and combating climate change impacts. So this is an overview of our the BOMA model, which we call REAP in full, which means REAP, Rural Entrepreneurial Access Program. So the BOMA model in an overview is a 2-year program that involves community entry and targeting, conditional cash transfer, financial life skills and training, mentoring and coaching, savings and access to credit, and financial inclusion and market linkages over a 2-year graduation program period. So how are we able to reach our participants? We reach them through the field officer or a field supervisor who supervises mentors across various mentor locations. So mentors are the volunteers we hire to provide mentorship over a 2-year period to the business groups made up of 3 women, which is our way of reaching our participants and enabling them graduate from extreme poverty. So what has our total impact been? So since 2009, we've been able to reach 26,614 women have been enrolled, 133,070 children have been impacted, 159,684 women and children to date of total impact, 9,000 businesses launched, 1,162 savings groups established, $797 in savings accumulated so far, $378 and $45,000 in total loans issued by savings group, and 780 women linked to financial services to date. So we've been doing so good so far, but we have a vision to reach 1 million children by 2022. And technology has been playing an important role as we grow, and I'll be showing you in the next few slides how. So BOMA's graduation program is data-driven, gender-focused, has clear measures of success, and a defined exit strategy for all our participants. So we're able to achieve this through our system, our custom system called Performance Insights, which is made up of 2 components: TaroWorks, the mobile data collection tool that is built directly on the Salesforce platform and supports offline data collection. This has been quite useful in getting real-time data to facilitate real-time decision-making. We also have Salesforce, the customizable cloud-based platform, which we have customized to track real-time performance of individuals, businesses, and savings groups. So all these come together has been able to improve our program, decision-making, and intervention. And anybody who works in the graduation space knows that when working with ultra-poor women, early intervention makes a difference between whether a woman graduates or she falls off during any stage of the program. So I'll be showing you how technology has helped us do that. So this is a flowchart of our REAP process or our program implementation and how the system supports that. So we have customized our system, Performance Insights, to replicate our program implementation. So this is an overview of our program implementation and how the system supports it. So as I explained earlier, we start by doing community entry, then targeting. So we have a 2-step targeting process. The first one is PRA, or in full, Participatory Rural Appraisal, which is a ranking process it is a community-led ranking process, whereby they give each other's scores between 1 and 7, depending on their own definitions of wealth and poverty. So being a program focused on the ultra poor, we collect their answers or ranking of each household using a TaroWorks job, then use the system to do automatic nomination and only focus on category 1 and 2, which we deem to be the ultra poor based on definitions given by the communities. After that, for those who qualify, we conduct a mini survey, which we call the participant targeting tool, administered through a TaroWorks job, which allows us confirm that these participants are indeed ultra poor by asking them a set of questions that are scored. So participants who score between 60 and below are automatically deemed as qualified by automations in the Salesforce system. So any score that comes in as 60 is automatically qualified, and they form the pool of participants. Those who score 60 and above are 61 and above are automatically disqualified. So from the pool of participants, the participants come together in teams of 3 to form business groups. And we have TaroWorks jobs such as business group creation and membership that allows us to track, get information such as the group name and how they assign duties. We encourage the women in the group of 3 to have a group leader, secretary, and the treasurer. And we're able to collect all this information using the TaroWorks job. And the women also do a grant application or a business application form. So on what their business will be, where they plan to operate, where they plan to get their stock, and what they think with the money they need initially. So all this is collected using a jump grant application job and is then transferred to the system, whereby we're able to track on a real-time basis how the grant applications are coming in, what businesses women are choosing, and then we're able to now give them an initial grant of 20,000 shillings to facilitate them to now form the groups. After group formation, we now begin monitoring, because when you work with ultra poor, you know that constantly checking on how they are doing is very important, because there are very many factors that affect their success, such as conflict, working together, and access to knowledge. So we believe in monthly monitoring of these business groups to just ensure that they're on track and they remain on track. So we capture this data using a data collection form called the monthly business monitoring form. And after 6 months, after the initial grant, we conduct something called a progress report to see how are they doing 6 months in. Those that are doing well and meet the progress grant criteria of having at least a good business value, be operating together, and at least having a separate operating space from their home or manyatta, meet the PG criteria, which we then proceed to give them another conditional cash transfer called a progress grant of 10,000 shillings. Then they proceed as a business group to come together and form savings group, which is now made up of multiple business groups. So once the savings groups are formed, we then conduct monitoring of the savings group over a 18-month period until our participants graduate from the program. So we have some TaroWorks job that assists us in that. We have the savings group monitoring job, which we do on a monthly basis after formation of the savings group, which allows us to capture contributions, trainings delivered to the participants, as well as loans issued by the group to the participants or non-participants. We also, on a monthly basis, do a loan repayment job through a form where we're able to track how the participants repaying the money they've borrowed. We also conduct 2 surveys at the beginning and at the end of the program, which we call the Standard of Living Index survey, which we also conduct through a TaroWorks job. So this is an overview of what our program is and how technology is embedded in each step to ensure early intervention, informed decision making, to basically ensure as many as possible of our participants graduate from extreme poverty. So being a data-driven program, I will show you how the system technology supports us in the following way: in targeting, participant and group monitoring, as well as remote staff monitoring. I'll also be showing you a few screenshots of some of the TaroWorks jobs we use and how the data collected on those forms translates into monitoring dashboards, which we use to do decision making, as well as programmatic changes based on some data that comes in from the field. So this is an example of our first form. This is the form we use to collect data from the participatory role appraisal, which is our first stage of targeting. As you can see, we capture the household number, the woman's name, the husband's or father or family name, occupation of the household, and the wealth category. So this data is what we use to now nominate those who are in category 1 and 2, whom we consider the ultra poor. So after that, we conduct another survey, the second survey, which is a mini survey aimed at confirming eligibility. So this survey, as I said initially, each question is scored. So for example, the question, how many shorts do you own? Shorts basically means sheep and goats. A participant who says 51 to 100 has a score, gets a score of 10. So the higher you score, the highly you're likely to be disqualified from the program. So we also ask questions such as, when your household last purchased food, how did you do it? Money from employment, sale of livestock. We also check on household health, wealth, if you can see from our right. For example, how many adults in your household, including yourself, are engaged in full-time employment, because our aim is to reach the ultra poor, those with no access to credit, finance, and be able to better their lives. So we want to ensure that we are really getting to the ultra poor within a certain geographical area. So this is an example of a score for a question. For the question, does your household own a solar charger? For the answer, yes, one of in the household purchase, you get a score of 10. For purchases by a friend or a relative, you get 5. And for donations or having none, you get 0. So this is also an image that shows how that translates into the system. So this is a participant who got a score of 15, and the system automatically qualified them. So they now proceed to form the pool of participants. So technology has really been useful, and real-time data has really been useful in the sense that we have had instances as we expand our program where some questions unfairly disqualify certain people in certain areas, whereby we had a question like do you own a modern bed? Where in the areas we used to work traditionally, like in the extreme rural areas, owning a bed would seem as a sign of wealth. But as we moved to more urban areas, we noted that a bed is not necessarily a sign of wealth. So having TaroWorks and collecting data and us syncing it in real time into the system, we're able to note this and adjust our questionnaire to adapt to these new areas. So having real-time data using technology is very important in graduation programs. So this is an example of how we visualize the data we collect in our targeting process. So we call it cohort launch monitoring. So this is the launch of an intervention in a specific area for a specific funding month within a year. So for example, from this dashboard, we're able to know how many PRAs were received, and of those PRAs received, what is the distribution of ranking? How many are in category 1 in a specific location? How many fall in category 2? How many fall in category 3? Then, out of all the PRAs conducted, how many were nominated? How many failed to be nominated? And afterwards then, so after the nomination, we proceed now to conduct PTT on those who are nominated. So out of the PTTs conducted, how many were qualified? It is very important for us to track this as it happens, because whenever you plan to launch or fund a specific cohort, you have a target number of businesses to launch. So this means that the numbers of people who you get in category 1 and 2 have to be enough so that when some of them do not qualify in the second stage of targeting, you have enough numbers to form groups. This instant or constant monitoring really helped us in a certain region whereby we noted that we did not have enough numbers in category 2 and 1, whereby most participants were falling between category 3 and 4. And because we focus on the ultra poor, we had to make the decision early on, because the data came in very early, to expand our target location to an extra location in order for us to meet the numbers. So for example, now after the qualified participants, we are now able also to track the business groups created. For this cohort, we had a target of 540, which we met. So we also have this gauge which tracks how long it takes, because when a group is funded or launched determines when it will exit, because ours is a strictly 2-year program for now. So when we fund a group determines when it will exit. And because in working in arid areas, other factors such as insecurity affects things such as creation and programmatic implementation. So constant monitoring allows us to intervene early on before, just to make programmatic changes to allow us to meet our target exit date. So on the right, you can also see this primary group distribution. So this is just an example of how the data we collect during the targeting process now feeds into what you're able to monitor, and it's how it's able to facilitate decision making. So after the cohort are launched, I say that we do the monthly business monitoring. So this is an example of the data we collect on a monthly basis using our TaroWorks forms. For example, what is the current value of cash in hand for the primary business? And we're able to actually ask these questions, give our mentors instructions on how to ask them or what it refers to, for us to be able to know, of the money we gave you to form a business, how are you doing? How are you saving? Do you have any credit? How much cash in hand do you have? So we collect this on a monthly basis to allow us to capture any issues that may arise and do necessary interventions. We also, on a monthly or sometimes quarterly basis, capture the graduation criteria. How close are our participants to meeting what we term as our graduation criteria? So we are able to ask, because of availability of the TaroWorks table feature, if, for example, if any of the children went to bed hungry, and if any of the children also, how many meals the children ate in a day. So all this then end up feeding into our participant level tracking as well as our group level tracking. We also have another form which we call the savings group monitoring form, which we use to track the savings group on a monthly basis after their formation. So this is a screenshot of the section which we use to collect members' contribution. And again, the TaroWorks table feature has really been useful in this case because we have groups of as much as 17 to 20 participants. And if this were a repeat section, it would be a bit difficult for our mentors to fill in. So mentor is easily able to fill the member number, which is assigned by the savings group, whether they are present or absent. So we really track the participants' attendance because during the savings group meeting, the mentor not only captures information about the group, but also takes this opportunity to deliver trainings, micro trainings, which are aimed at improving the quality of life of participants by training on things such as goal setting, family planning, business skills, how to manage a business and things like that. So it's a great opportunity for participants to learn and get additional life skills. So we track how they attend, how much they contributed. On the right, you also see we track loans. Who has taken a loan? When is it due? The amount, purpose of the loan, and the interest. So all this is possible through use of TaroWorks, and you're able to capture this and track this on a monthly basis. So in the next slide, I'm showing you how now the data we collect from the savings group translates into a monitoring dashboards that facilitates decision making, intervention, and us knowing how we are doing. And from this dashboard, you're able to see, we're able to track how many groups are visited per month, because if a group is not visited, then it means the training was not delivered. It means we did not capture how much they saved. So we believe in interacting with these participants on a monthly basis to ensure we impart enough skills for them to even grow beyond what we left them after the 2-year graduation period. We also track attendance. So for this month, we had 91.81 attendance. So we had about 9 point something or 8 point something people missing in attendance. We also track contribution. On a monthly basis, participants are encouraged to contribute a minimum of 400 shillings. We track this on a monthly basis because having savings is very good to ensure shock preparedness. One of our very important graduation criteria, because in the areas we work, shocks are many. We have drought, we have insecurity, among other things that affect these women. So having savings is crucial for them to be able to withstand these shocks, and that is why we track it on a monthly basis. And from this dashboard, you're also able to see at a glance how much money they had in the box when they opened it. So participants in the areas we work put their savings in a box. So at the beginning of each meeting, they count the money. Then during the course of the meeting, they do their contribution, taking the loan repayments, as well as give out loans. So we also track cash in box after the meeting. We're also able to track how many loans are issued. As I showed you previously, we capture the loans through the TaroWorks form. And now this translates into the following analysis which you have on our dashboards. We're also able to track average loans taken by location, those that are outstanding. We're also able to track the training modules offered. As I said, we use the savings group as an opportunity to provide trainings to our participants. So for this month, 214 participants received trainings on business skills, borrowing and lending, and goal setting. So as you can see, the data we collect really feeds into real-time monitoring of how our savings and business groups are doing. So technology has really been useful for us in our program. So the same way that we collect data on the groups, we also collect data on participants. I showed you a screenshot of an example of data we collect on the participants. So we also collect data on how they save and their income from their businesses, because we help them form business so they can earn an income. So for example, we're able to know from a glance, this is an individual participant, how much cash they've taken as income, how much food and goods they've taken as income, how much credit they've taken, and how much food in form of cash and food they've taken as credit, how many contributions they've given so far, and what that translates to, how many loans they've taken, and also their repayment. So this participant here took a loan of 10,000 and is yet to repay. So we also track graduation. We have the 6 graduation criteria of no child sleeping hungry, 2 meals per day in a household, 25% higher business value than the initial seed grant, multiple income sources, shock preparedness, and human capital investment. So we're also able to track not only how a whole location or how a whole cohort is meeting graduation, but we're also able to track this at individual level, because we want everybody to graduate, meaning that we can't only focus on overall numbers. We have to go to drill down to individuals and see how to intervene to ensure that almost, if not everybody, graduates within a specific cohort. So from the data we collect on a monthly basis, we're also able to do trend analysis. For example, this is an analysis from the month of for the last and current quarter of how specific business types, participants are earning income from it, or financial gain. In this case, by financial gain, we mean income in form of cash and goods in form of credit, or just taking income from the business. So are they taking any income from the business, or are they taking any credit from the business? Basically, are they benefiting from the business that we help them launch? And from this, you're able to see that beads, crafts, and jewelry are doing quite well, and butchery and livestock also not too bad but stable. Also, kiosk dukas is doing quite well. But we're seeing businesses like poultry farming and tailoring are the ones giving little to no financial gain to the participants. So such an analysis allows the program department to make decisions in form of advising the participants in terms of, is this business sustainable? Why is this zero? And if so, what can we do to improve these numbers? Or what can we then advise our participants to do in terms of changing businesses or changing their business practices in the specific business type? So all this is possible through using our system. I said earlier, when implementing a graduation program, it's very important to do early interventions. So what we do, we have specific questions in the survey that generate alerts in our forms. For example, in a business monitoring form, when a mentor answers yes to the question, has group membership changed? We want to know. We work in northern drylands or pastoralist areas where things such as migration, insecurity, affect and conflict will affect constitution of a business. So for example, here's an alert that came in when a mentor answered yes to the change in group membership, and he said that Riziki Business Group in Logologo has changed membership for the following reasons. Fatuma Galboran migrated permanently. So it's now the job of the field supervisor to confirm whether Fatuma migrated permanently or temporarily, because participants in areas we work in, sometimes they migrate temporarily because of conflict, sometimes even for a wedding for 1 month or 2 months. So all you have to do is just confirm, then make the necessary updates to the group as we continue monitoring it. So we also track specific alerts also on the business value. In this case, a certain mentor in Moses in Natakwani location reported that Kirimat BG had a business value of 0. So this may be a data entry issue, or it may also be a reality, because in some cases we have businesses burning down or businesses having challenges, and that is why having this alert allows us to make interventions to know what happened, why it happened, and what can we do to get you back on track, or if it's not possible for you to get back on track. So all this has made us reduce the number of fallouts in terms of graduation because of group conflict, because of domestic conflict, because we are able to get these alerts, intervene using either our mentors, our field officers, and if not possible, we engage local committees, which we call relocational committees, to help us resolve conflicts or assist groups get back up in case they're having issues. So I said earlier that the system also helps us in remote staff monitoring. Working with the ultra poor means that we always have to keep track of their progress, and we do this through the help of mentors. But sometimes, because mentors work in remote areas, sometimes out of network, some of them may choose not to go to work and just enter data because they think nobody will know. And because of this, when we form the groups, we ask the mentors to collect GPS recording of where the group location will be because of the GPS capability within the TaroWorks job. We also, on a monthly basis, when they do their business monitoring or the monthly meetings, we ask them to record where they do their meeting from. And as you can see from this screenshot, this was a mentor who was doing the data from their home, because B indicates where the businesses are and where the mentor is seeking the data from. So from this, we're able to know that the mentor was actually just making up data and sending to us. And when you have such information, all you can do when you engage the mentor is ask them, how do we move forward? Because you're able to actually see this data, and it's no longer about hearsay or who said or I did. So after we noticed this and the program team were able to make interventions, you can see that this improved, that now the mentor started visiting the businesses where they are located. We really care about our participants and the level of mentorship and programmatic interventions they get within the 2-year program. And that is why use of technology is integral to our implementation program. And we've been able to customize, and we still seek to improve it even further to improve field access as much, and also participant access to the data we collect from them. So this is just basically an overview of how we use data how we use data and how we use technology to support and improve our program implementation in order to graduate women from extreme poverty. Thank you, and I'd like to invite any questions.
Great. If you have any questions, please type them in. Monica, this was fantastic. Thanks for sharing this. I was particularly interested in just all the great examples of how you've used this data not only to make decisions, which is always something that we look forward to hearing about, but that you're actually able to take like immediate action on some of these items.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is fantastic work. So thanks for sharing this.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think at this, I don't see any questions. Definitely type them in. In the interest of time, I'd like to move forward to Village Enterprises presentation. If you think of any, type them in and we can take them all at the end as well. So let me just move this over. Thanks again, Monica. Great, Celeste, do you see? Okay, great, we can see your screen.
All right, thank you, Elaine. Village Enterprise we're excited to take part in this webinar today. As we move forward, you'll see there is quite a bit of overlap between the BOMA program and the Village Enterprise program, how we operate our programs, and so it makes a lot of sense to group our two presentations in this one webinar. Over the last year, we've done quite a bit of work improving our data management systems, and so during this webinar, I'll be able to present to you guys around those improvements that we've made. And so I'll start off though by giving you an overview of Village Enterprise programming and what really motivated us to dive into making those updates. So Village Enterprise implements a 1-year group-based graduation program in East Africa. There are 5 components to our graduation program. Our target population is the rural ultra-poor. And so we begin the cycle with a community-based targeting process meant to identify the ultra-poor. Once we have identified the ultra poor, we invite those households into the program. We form 30-person savings groups with the households who join the program. Our frontline workers are called business mentors, and typically each cycle a business mentor works with 2 savings groups. So each savings group has 30 people, so they're working with 2 savings groups for a total of 60 households in an active cycle. The business mentors train at the savings group level, delivering a 4-month business skills and financial literacy program. During the training program, households self-select into small business groups of 3 people per group. The business groups complete business plans by the conclusion of the training program, at which time the business groups are provided seed funding to launch small businesses. 2/3 of that seed funding is provided in this first installment, and the remaining 1/3 is provided approximately 6 months later. Business mentors provide mentoring to the business groups and the business savings groups until the end of the cycle year. Village Enterprise, we completed our first randomized control trial in 2017. Results of that study validated our theory that our integrated poverty programming leads to greater progress out of poverty for the rural ultra poor than simply providing cash transfers with no additional support. So as we wrapped up that randomized control trial, we used the results of that study to co-design and launch a development impact bond. This type of program contract is unique in that payment is only delivered by outcome funders if pre-agreed upon outcomes are achieved. For this development impact bond, the outcome funders will pay Village Enterprise based on the degree to which we increase the incomes of the participant households. The impact of our program on household incomes will be validated through an external randomized control trial conducted by ID Insight. So we already know from our first randomized control trial that we have a positive impact on the households we serve. But this type of contract incentivizes us to strive for higher impact, because with higher impact on household incomes comes higher payment. To fund implementation, we received pre-financing from investors. We want to be able to repay investors in entirety and also deliver a small return on investment. Our goal is 12 to 15% increased impact compared to our first RCT. To help achieve our goal of increasing our impact, we decided to work on increasing our adaptive management capacities. As an organization, we have strengthened our capacities along the entire adaptive management life cycle, which is visualized on the left. In this webinar, however, we'll focus on advances we've made to our data management systems. So as background, we first started using Android devices for data collection in 2011. At that time, we used Google's Open Data Kit to support data collection. In 2015, we transitioned to use of TaroWorks to power our data collection and Salesforce for our data storage and management. That transition in 2015 was an important step in professionalizing our ability to track participants, activities, and outcomes. However, we weren't entirely satisfied because at that time we were collecting data from the field, but we didn't have great solutions for sharing the results back to the field. Launching the Development Impact Bond pushed us to prioritize dedicating the time and resources to solving that challenge of getting results back to the field more quickly. While our data management updates spanned across our 5 program areas, for brevity during this webinar, I will focus exclusively on our improved use of technology for managing business groups. This slide displays the schema we designed in Salesforce to host the data we use for managing our business groups. The main reason I am showing you this slide is simply to display the amount of data that is populated directly from the field. The tan nodes are all TaroWorks tasks, meaning that data is populated into our database directly from the field as VE staff input data on their Android devices while conducting their work. Here is a simplified visualization of our business group management workflow. The business mentor is responsible for registering business groups inputting the group's small business applications through their phones and logging the mentoring sessions that they conduct. After seed funding is dispersed, we monitor business health through business progress visits. Each business group receives 3 business progress monitoring visits. To help increase objectivity of the data, these visits are conducted by enumerators rather than business mentors or program staff. To give you a better sense of how the systems function, I'm going to demonstrate filling of a business group registration form and how that then relates to the business mentoring logs. So here you see once staff have logged into TaroWorks on their Android devices, this is the interface they see. So here I'm going to open up my jobs, and here I have up top my business group registration example. So first I'm opening up the job and I'm selecting the data collection task to fill the business group registration. At any given time, a business mentor is actively training one cycle and mentoring 2 previous cycles. And so on their mobile devices, they'll actually, they'll see 3 different cycles. And so they need to select the cycle that is relevant for the data collection task that they're doing. So right here, what we see on this screen is we're using the hierarchy drill down feature in Salesforce to push data from our database into the phones. So what we see here, this is a list of the names of the business owners that are already registered into the program. And so this step of registering the participants into the program would have happened earlier in the process, also by the business mentor. Sometimes we do have participants that have the same name, and so in that case, the business mentor is able to click on this button here to get more information and ensure that indeed they are selecting the right participant. So the task here, we're registering a business group. So what we want to do is we want to define who are the 3 members of the business group. So let's say that it's Paul, Agnes, and Mary. We move forward, and so here we're declaring our business group name. I'm just setting a test name. We're registering this as an active business, and we're declaring it's a group size of 3. We've set up the system to auto calculate the number in the group based on the number registered, but we ask this question, is a data quality check. Okay, so here, since earlier in the form we've already identified the members in the group, the details related to those members we're automatically pushing them. We're mapping them into the fields in the form. And so all the business mentor has to do at this point is gather the signature of each person that is being registered to confirm that indeed they are a member of that group. And so here we capture a photo of the group. It's for quality control purposes. And then we can, and that's it, that's registration. And so we'll sync this and toggle back over to our other screen so I can just discuss while that syncs. Next, we're going to look at a business group mentoring form so that we can see how, after we've completed the registration task, how that then relates to the business group mentoring form. So business group mentoring that takes place before seed funding is dispersed is, from a content perspective, typically relates to planning for which business, like business selection and planning for the startup of the business. And then once the seed funding has been dispersed and the businesses have been launched, mentoring typically relates to operating the business and progressing on future goals. So here I'm back on my TaroWorks screen, and I'm going to open up my business mentoring log example. So we're going through the same process of selecting the data collection task and selecting the appropriate BM cycle. So here we can see AA test. This is the group that I've just registered. You can see I practiced it a couple times. And so here, the three business owners that we registered to the group are now pushed into this business mentoring log form. And so when our business mentors go to do mentoring, we want to track mentoring that is happening at the business group level, but we also want to track which members of the business are participating in the mentoring session. And so let's say that Paul and Mary are participating, but Evelyn is not. We would just select, the business mentor would just select Paul and Mary. And so then the business mentor logs the start of the session. And after that, the business mentor, they can close down their form, conduct the mentoring session, and then at the end, they'll gather the signature of the two people that they said were present at the meeting, collect a photo of the two, and collect the GPS coordinates. And so these two questions are for quality control purposes. And so I think BOMA, Monica showed a great example of why it's important to collect GPS coordinates for quality control purposes. And so this is an end timestamp so that we can use these two timestamps and the system auto calculates for us the length of mentoring sessions. Okay. So once we're satisfied with the updates to, our schema and some of our data collection tools, we built custom reports for staff at each level of implementation. We distributed tablets to all field staff. Using these tablets, staff are able to log into the TaroWorks partner community and view their dashboards and reports. There are also some reports we've programmed to periodically send to staff email inboxes. Here's a screenshot of a dashboard designed for the country director level. These dashboards provide summary information against key indicators for all programming in the country underneath the country director viewing his or her dashboard. And on this level of dashboard, the data is grouped by the field associate, which is the role that supervises our business mentors, our field agents. So next, what we see is a screenshot of a dashboard designed for the field associate level. These dashboards only allow viewing of data for programming within the field associate's area of operation, and these dashboards are grouped by the business mentors that the field associate supervises. And then when we get down to the business mentor level, their dashboards only allow viewing of records for households they are assigned to support. Here, instead of showing a screenshot of a full dashboard designed for business mentors, I am just showing two widgets for further discussion. And so first, we can see how by clicking on a widget, staff will be directed to the report underlying the widget. So staff can view the dashboards for summary details, but then click through to the reports for specific case details. And then this business health widget is an interesting one. It is populated based on the data coming in from the business monitoring visits conducted by the enumerators. Collection of monitoring data using our Android devices for the business groups it's a best practice that we have implemented since 2011. However, staff feedback was that it was taking too long to get the business monitoring results back to them. And when the results were returned, the plethora of information made it tough to form evaluative judgments regarding the health of businesses. In response to that, we developed a business health classification system and operationalized getting the monitoring results back to staff in real time through back-end automations and these dashboards. During this webinar, I focused on the technology piece. However, it is important to note that technology alone will not move an organization into a high-capacity adaptive management space. Leaders across Village Enterprise invest energy in creating a culture that manages adaptively based on evidence. As such, I thought it was important to show this final slide, which details the formal meetings identified by Village Enterprise leaders is needing to have agenda space for data reflection. In this webinar, I've been able to speak to the systems we've designed and rolled out this year. As mentioned earlier on, the push to do this work this year was driven by the launch of our Development Impact Bond. In a future discussion, we'll be able to communicate the degree to which all of this work helped us achieve our impact objectives. And that is the end of this presentation, Monica.
Great, thanks Celeste. That was super interesting. Thanks for taking us through the live demo. I think it really shows the flow of how you're making all of this happen. And again, struck by how you're using this data to take action. So I think that's my big takeaway from this. So yeah, thanks again, Celeste. Okay, so please get any questions into the Q&A section. I do have a few questions here. So I think these are for both of you, Monica and Celeste. Maybe we'll have Monica, you start first. I have some technical questions. What type and model of tablets are you both using?
We use, thank you Ellen for the question. So we use the Samsung SMT285 tablet for our data collection. But for some very remote areas that have challenges with network, we use the Techno P107 tablets because we find them having an easier time in extremely remote areas where network is a challenge. But we recommend the Samsung T285 model.
Celeste, any insight too?
If you can, Elaine, pass on the contact information of who asked that question, I can send them the details because we have a running list of the different tablets depending on there's a couple different kinds. So I can send on that information to the person interested.
Yeah, happy to do that. I think from our side, we do encourage you to test out everything in the field before you kind of mass purchase for your field agents. So what might work in one area might not work in others. So I think it's great to get these recommendations, but I do recommend you test it out first. Okay, I think for both of you again, how are you funding the cost of SIM cards and topping off internet on the tablets?
I think for us, we include the cost of SIM cards and data in our cohort, in our program cost. So when we are doing a budget proposal on costing for a specific cohort or intervention, we include all these administrative and additional costs that will affect the administrative aspect of the program.
And precisely, it's the same for us. Is we do program budgets, we are including these costs in our program budgets.
Okay, great. And then sort of on the same line, how do you control how the internet is used on these tablets?
Oh, so you're saying, so the question is mostly asking how do you control depletion, so that maybe the specific volunteer or mentor is not using it for others. So what we've done is we've basically locked all other applications with the exception of TaroWorks and the Salesforce mobile tool for access to feedback from the system. So for the mentor to install any other application, they require a password that we only manage. He can only get from either the field officer or someone else. So that has helped the mentor to only focus on using the tablets for work, i.e. Recording, mentoring, and the other data collection exercises. So we also do trainings where we encourage them to separate and just know that this is for use for only work. But those security measures have really been useful in our case.
Monica, is that an app or how are you controlling that?
Oh, sorry, yeah, it's an app from the Play Store that just locks every other application. So there are very many apps. So whenever we get the mentor devices in the initial setup, we install TaroWorks and the Salesforce mobile app, as well as WhatsApp for use in sharing pictures. But then we lock every other app, including settings, so that they only are able to access TaroWorks and the other and Salesforce mobile. So that has really helped us, because we no longer have cases of mentors complaining that the data is too little, they require top up. So we give each mentor 350 MBs, which lasts them for a month till the next top up.
Okay. Do you happen to remember what that app is called?
I remember. I think we just use AppLock. It's called AppLock.
Oh,
AppLock.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Village Enterprise has a sort of a similar management process. We use an application called Mirador for our mobile device management. And so it allows us to, we can access the devices from a central computer and perform updates as needed, double check on how devices are used, and, like lock down certain things that we don't want used.
Great. That's super interesting. Good questions. I guess sort of on the same line, I think one of the biggest challenges that a lot of folks who are kind of bringing technology on face is the issue of adoption, especially by field agents if they're not super familiar with using smartphones. What has been the adoption process of this technology been like for your field agents? Maybe Celeste, we'll start with you.
Sure. That's a great question, especially since our field agents, we hire people right from the communities where we implement, because we think that from the perspective of being able to relate to the participants, and that that hiring right from the communities is very important. But that also comes with challenges, because sometimes as we bring on business mentors, some of them have never even used a smartphone or a tablet before, and so during the onboarding process, there's focused time for technology literacy, and then it's not a one-time thing. It's ongoing as programming goes on, that we continue to have the need to work on the technology aspect with the staff.
So, that's a great question. So I think I concur with what Celeste said. So we also hire village mentors who sometimes have never actually had access to the smartphone. So we do initial technology training, but also what we found also that works is development of a step-by-step guide with images. So on a periodic basis, we capture all the most commonly reported support issue ticket from the mentors with regards to use of technology. So then we develop a step-by-step guide with screenshots, so that they are able to know, if I have this challenge, I have something to refer to on how to resolve it. So also when we train these mentors, we try to also show them how using this technology helps make their work easier. So when you get their buy-in, their interest increases. Then also releasing support guides has actually helped us reduce up to by half, more than half actually, our support requests, because we had challenges with people forgetting their pins, SIM card pins, very, very small issues that you may think are really small, but giving them the power to resolve it themselves through step-by-step guides has really improved user adoption for our case, to whereby we have little to minimum technology issues being reported by our mentors in the field.
I should add, Monica, what you said, it just reminded me. So we largely, historically, we've relied on in-person training or guides. And one thing that we're piloting right now is a series of little mini videos. And so it will be interesting for us to see the degree to which those mini videos will make a difference in tech literacy compared to just the guides or the in-person training.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting thing to try with TaroWorks, since you can do the videos too offline, so they can just look it up while they're sort of in field.
Yeah.
I'll follow up with you on that. Okay, so we're at time, but if you guys are able to hang on for just a few more minutes, I'd love to just like wrap things up. So any kind of last thoughts from you? And something I'm always interested in to hear is like, if you were to do this process over again, or if you were to give advice to someone who is planning to create a system like this, what kind of advice or what kind of things would you do over again?
Okay, so I think for us, what I'd say for us, if we were to do it all over again, would start with the system earlier, because we also adopted having a system, technology system in 2015. And also in creating adoption or updating our system to better collect data, we would actually prioritize end user feedback, i.e. the field team, the mentors, and the programmatic team, because we've made very many improvements when we started collecting their feedback on what they think is missing, what they think could be added. But anybody thinking of starting this, focus on what you want to achieve, who is going to help you achieve your impact, and as you design your program, as you design your solutions, focus on the end user, who is going to use it. Because if you design difficult forms, the mentor will not be able to collect the data for you. If you make your Salesforce system not easy to use, the people who need to analyze or monitor using the system will not be able to use it. So the best case scenario is having a system where users can use it with minimal or little support from the IT or technology team, giving power to the users, and also focusing on their feedback and providing constant improvement to the system. So that's the feedback I would give, but always prioritize using technology. It makes a world of difference. Yeah, that's all.
I love that.
Wonderful. And I would say, from my perspective, two things. One is I really can't emphasize enough that the leadership point, that like having buy-in and support from leadership across the organization for ensuring that the organization culturally really is data-driven is just so important. Just like tech alone is needed, but not enough. And then the other piece, when it comes to manipulating technology to operationalize what you want to do, I think it can differ for programming for Village Enterprise and for graduation programming, because there are like multiple components to programming at multiple levels. It can get a bit complex, what is needed, and we've had a combination of both working with external consultants and working in-house on our updates. And what we found for us is that it was really essential to build that expertise to be able to lead the updates in-house. And the reason why is because of the complexity of the program, it can be difficult to in-house staff understand the program quite intricately, and that's really important for making sure that the updates match needs. And then it's an ongoing process. As we continue to move forward, staff are going to continue to have like new requests, new insights, new ways to see the data, and so having that capacity in-house, we're going to be able to keep up with the new requests, which I think is very important.
No, great. Well, thanks for sharing what you guys have built, and thanks for doing what you do. It's so inspiring to see. So we're so happy that we can help you out, and thanks for sharing your story with everybody. So Monica and Celeste, thank you very much. And for everybody else, thanks for joining. Please do provide some feedback in the survey at the end, and see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure joining.
Yeah, thank you too.
Great. Yes, thanks.